if you look at some of the wildlife board members who are part of the wildlife board, they have also done the same thing. They've encroached forest land and they've built resorts and ranches in these kind of highly sensitive areas, especially the what you call the corridor areas. I would request all the rich guys in Bangalore, in Mysore, to stop buying land in Bandipur and in Kodagu, in BRT, in all these areas, and allow the forest to be there. They are just getting cheap land there, revenue land. So they're buying up and they are starting building ranches and homestays just to have fun. Their fun is just for a weekend. But the suffering of the farmers for the entire year, in that the farmer dies, the elephant also dies.
So welcome to South First. I'm Nolan Pinto. Now, today we're going to discuss about the frequent number of deaths of wild elephants in Kodagu district. And for this, we have with us Mr. Joseph Hoover, who's a noted wildlife activist and a conservationist. Thank you, Joseph, for joining us.
Thank you, Nolan.
Joseph, I remember discussing this with you a few days ago when a story came of two elephants in Kodagu that died. One slipped into a lake and the other one was electrocuted. So your initial thoughts on this?
I mean, it's quite painful to be hearing about these frequent elephant deaths, especially in Kodagu, because people in Kodagu are very tolerant. Despite that, these are happening. Where the same elephants would be, kind of moving into estates or near villages in Kerala, there would have been a bigger hue and cry. And though people have been tolerant in Kodagu, we are losing too many elephants there. Just imagine this year, this month alone, we have lost about 5 elephants to electrocution. And among that for deaths, we already see that 3 have died. 3 have died in Kodagu. One slipped in a well and fell down. One got stuck in a slush and died. So these are all disturbing things to hear about, to talk about. But unfortunately, we are faced with such a situation now. Man-animal conflict has escalated so much, it's now gone beyond the control of the government or the forest department, because I see the forest department are not prepared much for this, because to be very honest with you, there's nothing much they can do about it, because they can't be in control over the entire landscapes, forest landscapes, and we can't be controlling the movement of tigers and elephants and leopards. That's beyond them. But the preparedness and the more importantly, we find them not sharing the details. We tell them all the time that if there are certain things which happen, it's beyond your control, please share it with the public. Let's be honest in that. Let's not, dilly-dally. So that creates a lot of, doubt among the people. And then they start blaming the forest department for everything. See, I having been part of this system for a long time now, I've been part of this conservation movement for a very long time. I've seen both what the forest staff go through and what the farmers go through or the estate owners go through. But at this point in time, the escalation in elephant deaths is unthinkable and unpardonable, because there's something we need to do something about this very quickly. Because if you look at it, people, as you said earlier, have been talking about culling elephants. This talk has been on for the last 5 years. We have too many elephants in Karnataka. This is the highest population in India. We roughly have about 6,400. But if you look at the man and man-elephant ratio, we are a population of 6.5 crore people, and we have just 6,400 elephants in our state. And even that we want to destroy. And if you look at it, look at not just Kodagu, look at Kanakpura area, Chamarajnagar, Ramanagar area. If you look at Asan, you look at Chikmagalur, elephants are being captured. I mean, virtually, if you look at it, I would say at least about 15 elephants are captured each year in the last 5 years on an average. And what are we doing with them? they're capturing them because they are getting into human landscapes, destroying crops, and sometimes farmers get killed. And then the elephant is called a rogue. They capture it, they bring it to the elephant camps, and then they kept in the kraal. Sometimes they die in the kraal. When they kept rot out of the kraal, also they die. And sometimes they're radio collared and released. And even there, chaos happens because those animals have gone to a new landscape, so they are trying to find their way back. So this happened recently, last December, if you remember. There were
Very
issues
true.
in Kerala when two of our collared elephants from Karnataka, especially Hassan, moved into Kerala. One of them died, one is on the move, and even that the Kerala government, the staff, forest department wanted to capture for whatever sake. So this is something that, it's very disturbing. And why are we in this situation? Because we have destroyed their habitats. One.
Actually, I wanted
Secondly,
to ask you that itself, Joseph. To
yeah,
what
yeah,
extent does habitat fragmentation and loss
yes,
contribute to these deaths? Because you have encroachment by estate owners, encroachment by farmers, encroachment by government agencies themselves. So, how much of that is actually contributing to the elephants' deaths that we are actually seeing now?
it's contributing both to elephant deaths and human deaths as well.
Mhm.
Because we have wantonly, destroyed their habitats. People knew these are all elephant habitats and they should have been careful about it. The government failed. And then you look at the ecotourism industry is developing at such a rapid pace because they want tourism to be big. Well, they should do tourism. There's no doubt about that because it does lift the economy. But do people, encroach the corridors? That is something that we need to have taken the count of, or rather, we should have been aware of what's been happening. Though they are aware, still lands are being purchased by local people. They're having homestays. They're having resorts. It's coming up and up, and it's very sad that one of our own conservation biologists, Sanjay Gubi himself, has encroached. I mean, built a ranch in Bandipur. It's in an elephant corridor, and those local people have been raising a lot of noise about saying that because of his he's put a fence around his property, elephants are coming into our area. So when you look at it, we ourselves are creating it. Like if you look at some of the wildlife board members who are part of the
Mhm.
wildlife board, they have also done the same thing. They've encroached forest land and they've built resorts and ranches in these kind of highly sensitive areas, especially the what do you call the corridor areas. So everybody
Mhm.
is contributing to that. And unfortunately, despite the government forest department writing to the revenue department saying that please stop alienation of such pockets of land, the revenue department is still giving it away.
Okay.
So naturally, elephants are going to come into your farmlands. And who's suffering? The villagers, the poor farmers are suffering.
Many of these deaths have taken place. One, say in the mid of June, an elephant fell into an open well that was being
Yeah.
constructed by the panchayat. And many other deaths I keep reading is because of electrocution.
Yeah.
How is it possible? Because when you talk about solar fencing, it's only supposed to, if you touch it, you go back. I mean, it's supposed to just push you back, not kill you. But why are our elephants dying when they come in contact with these solar fences?
Yeah, that's something that we've been discussing for a very long time. These solar fences can only give you a small shock. This is
Mhm.
all barely about 20 walls, whatever walls it is. So they get deterred and they go back. But deaths occur when these farmers or estate owners illegally draw power from the main line. That's the power line. They draw it and put it onto their gates or onto their fence. The moment the elephant touches that, then it's dead. That's one of the reasons that we all know about. And the second reason is, especially in these undulating landscapes like Kodagu or Asan, Shimoga and all the areas, uh, it's a responsibility of that kind of particular BESCOM or MESCOM, the electricity board company there. They need to ensure that the power lines are above the areas, because some of the areas in the valley they droop down and then they go up. So they have to ensure that all at a certain level. 2 elephant deaths happened in Kodagu because the power line had dropped. An elephant went to, they had a fight. One elephant fell on a tree. I mean, a tree branch fell, and then that tree branch, the elephant touched it and got electrocuted. So, and in one area, when the elephant was trying to escape being driven away, it touched overhanging um, power line and died. So it's the responsibility of these teams to ensure that these things are done.
But
For
doesn't the
what I've
government
done,
know about this, Joseph?
yes, yes,
You are
of
talking
course.
about it. You're a civilian over here. But
Yeah,
doesn't the government, with all their experts, know about this particular issue?
yeah, certainly.
So what are they doing?
And MESCOMs. I mean, like my Mysore is MESCOM. So when it comes to, they've written to them saying this is one area that you need to do that so that the lines are, increased. The height of the power lines are increased. They've written to that. And also what happens is in most cases, there are what you call committee formed by the government, wherein the concerned divisional officer is there and assistant conservator of forests is there, the local police inspectors involved, the local revenue authorities, the Tahsildar is there, the Panchayat representative is there, and somebody from that local electricity company is also part of the committee. So it is their duty to check on that the theft does not happen. But unfortunately, they're not doing their job. Maybe they're too busy. So when such things happen, they react. I always seem to get reactions from them saying it should not have happened. Why did it not? Why should it not happen is not what they're looking at. So this, despite the committee, this has been formed long ago. Just
Okay, so
on name.
Joseph, according to you, in the past few years, how many elephants have actually died due to unnatural ways, falling in wells, falling in lakes, being electrocuted? What are the numbers?
See, to put the figures, I haven't got the data from the forest department despite me writing to them. What we hear here is in the last 5 years, we lost minimum of 50 elephants to unnatural deaths. But I would say more in certain cases, they have not reported the deaths. From certain landscapes, they don't report the deaths also.
Okay.
So there should be more. And if you look at the electrocution deaths itself, we have 37 in the last 5 years.
37.
That's a huge number. Yeah, of course.
So you're talking about 37 electrocution deaths of elephants,
Yes.
and yet
In
the
the last five
government
years.
basically doesn't do anything?
They've done nothing about it. What have they done about it? They know the elephants are dying. They know this is what has happened. And what have they done about it? They file a case against those who are illegally drawing power from the overhead lines. And what action have they taken them? They just file a
So
case against it.
So is there no mechanism for the government to go and check that, that these particular farmers or estate owners or whoever's there are illegally drawing power? Is there no mechanism for them to know
No,
this or to
unfortunately,
find
there's
out?
no mechanism. Unfortunately, there's none. Unfortunately, there's no mechanism. Only thing, this committee, if they were really doing their job, they would be keeping an eye on what's happening. But unfortunately, we do not have a mechanism to stop this. See, of late, technology has come in a big way where some people have brought in saying that early warning signals, early warning things so that the elephants are coming in so people can be aware of it. And they have sensors. All this is being done. But if the department, if all the departments don't put their heads together, I don't think there's going to be an end to this. And we are just talking about June. You can imagine how many more elephants we're going to lose in the next few months. It's scary. And we are
So
losing not just in the wild, we are also losing elephants in the camp. One elephant was electrocuted in a camp. Can you believe it? And then they give us the elephant called Ashwatthama in Bhimankate elephant camp. They say it touched a solar fence and it died. And the reason they gave was its pancreas were weak, so it could not take that 20 volts of shock. So I said, why are we trying to, all the time give some cock and bull story? Let's be honest, it happened. Some power line has fallen on that and it died. Instead of that, you're trying to give different thing, and they get 5 doctors to come and give their opinion on that. So what is the need for getting 5 doctors? There are 2 doctors are good enough to say this died of this, that. They had 5 doctors, and one of them happened to be a private doctor. So you can just imagine, why are they bringing 5? Because each one is saying to cover up each other's backs. What happened is the fact the elephant died. Let's accept that. It died of electrocution. So to say it had weak pancreas is not a story that can be bought. Because the same elephant was used in a capture of elephants in Kodagu barely 2 months ago. At that point of time, nobody knew it had a weak pancreas.
So, Joseph, what
So
is the role now, considering that this is the situation? Some 37, 38 odd elephants have died due to electrocution in the past 4, 5 years. What is the role of uh, environmentalists or wildlife conservationists like yourself in putting this out, sensitizing people in Kodagu district, because I'm focusing on Kodagu district, and also putting pressure on the government that, see, this is what is happening over here, something needs to be done?
from we look at most of the NGOs there, they're working. I mean, they're all interested in stopping this new animal death kind of thing. But unfortunately, what's happening is, unless the government machinery is involved, it gets very serious about this. This is not going to end. If you say, as NGOs or activists or conservationists, this can be brought to the knowledge of the people, of the government, of the authorities. Beyond that, physically we cannot do. Though we can go and talk to people locally and tell them this is to not be done and all. And if you ask me, Kodagu people are knowledgeable and they're very tolerant. So they wouldn't do it like, drawing the power from the power line and connecting it to their solar fences. The Kodagu has a different perspective when it comes to death. As I said, overhanging lines. And then if you look at the death of an elephant dying in a slush, I mean, elephants were looking for fodder and kind of thing, even water. They go and die in their areas. One fell into a well, as you said recently, unfortunately. And the problem here is, why are the elephants coming out? One is the what do you call corridors being annihilated or fragmented. Second is, what is the kind of feed they have in the forest? That's another big issue. We have totally exotic species. Exotic species have taken over our forest landscapes. We had the Lantana camera. Now we have the Senna spectabilis. This is spreading like wildfire, I would say. The way that is going about. From Kerala, it is encroached right into Bandipur, into Mudumale, into Nagarvale. It's gone up to Hills. So what are the elephants going to feed?
How can government policies and community actions be aligned uh, to achieve sustainable coexistence for both man and wildlife?
More than the government, it's us. We have to understand that the elephants and tigers have been part of our system, part of our ecosystem. They've been there earlier, much earlier than us. So we need to accept they're also part of our ecosystem, and we need to live with it. The moment we start encroaching their forests, definitely we're going to ask for trouble, which is what we are facing today. And from the government perspective, if you look at the policy, government has to be very firm. If they takes a decision is saying that we are going to re-establish this corridor, they need to buy back land, whether the farmer or the estate owner likes it or not. The government has to say, no, this has to be done in the interest of the humanity and, of course, our elephants and tigers. So the government has to come down very hard. There has to be a political will to do that. If you're going to please people for a few votes, this problem will continue for the next 100 years also. So government needs to step up and say, okay, enough is enough. We need to do something right now, concrete, buy back the land, and wherever the encroachment has happened, recover it and ensure the corridors are re-established. Once that is done, at least some part of the problem can be solved. But I don't think we are in such a good position where man-animal conflict can be mitigated to a large extent, because we are already messed it up too much. And if you ask me, I would request all the rich guys in Bangalore, in Mysore, to stop buying land in Bandipur and in Kodagu, in BRT, in all these areas, and allow the forest to be there. They are just getting
All
cheap
right.
land there, revenue land. So they're buying up and they are starting building ranches and homestays just to have fun. Their fun is just for a weekend. But the suffering of the farmers for the entire year, in that the farmer dies, the elephant also dies. So this has to stop. And the government has to come down very hard now, saying that stop alienation of land anywhere near the forest. And there's also a thing which has been given to the revenue department. They've written a letter to the revenue department saying that without the permission, NOC from the forest department, please do not alienate your revenue land. But that has not helped because it still continues. And we have
Okay.
eco-sensitive zone committees. They're not doing their work as well. They're not doing
All
their work
right.
as well. Supposing
All
I'm
right.
pally with somebody and I say, this is my land, let it go. They say, okay, this is not elephant corridor. The other part is elephant corridor. There should not be any compromise now. And I request the government to get the right people in the eco-sensitive zones and in the forest department to get the right people to manage wildlife areas.
All right.
Otherwise, it is going to create more trouble. Already we are in a big mess. The mess will become messier, I could say that.
All right, Joseph. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your views, sharing these ideas. Now, we really hope that the government can do something because no one wants to see our wild elephants dying, suffering. No one also wants to see people suffering, people dying, people getting injured or maimed. So we do hope that we don't see more of these incidents taking place. But like you stated, the situation is already dire. But hopefully things should change. But thank you so much for speaking to South First.
Thank you for having me on the show, Nolan.